My uncle stole an expensive painting left for me in the will and gave it to his daughter. So I exposed him at a family gathering and claimed what was rightfully mine. I'm 33, a guy who's always tried to avoid family drama. I mean, who wants to be the one to stir the pot at Thanksgiving or the guy everyone whispers about when they think you've walked out of earshot? But after what my uncle and cousin pulled, I realized sometimes you've got no choice but to light the match. It all started when my grandfather passed away about 6 months ago. Grandpa wasn't rich, but he had this one thing, a painting, an old family heirloom passed down for generations. It wasn't just valuable, it was sentimental. He made it clear, more than once, that it was meant for me. Every time I visited him, he'd tell me how proud he was to pass it on to me. The painting wasn't just a piece of art, it was part of our family's story. So, when the will was read, I wasn't surprised to see my name next to it. The painting of the landscape shall go to my grandson, it read. Simple, clear, no confusion. I figured I'd go over to Grandpa's place, grab it, and that would be that. But then, a few weeks later, I swung by the house to pick it up, and it wasn't there. At first, I thought maybe it had been packed away with some of his other things. But when I asked my mom, she gave me this uncomfortable look and said, I think R took it. R, my uncle. Grandpa's golden child, at least in his mind. The guy who always had a new car, some fancy vacation, or a business opportunity he just had to brag about. He was the type who never had to work for anything, always had a way of getting what he wanted, usually by leaning on family guilt. And his daughter, Elle? Same deal. Entitled to the core, always whining about how life was so hard for her when she didn't get what she wanted, even though her dad footed the bill for everything. I headed over to his house, thinking maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe he'd grabbed it by accident, or thought I didn't care about it. But as soon as I walked into his living room, there it was, hanging above the fireplace like it had always belonged there. Uncle R, I started, trying to stay calm. That painting was left to me. Grandpa made it clear in the will. He barely even looked at me. Oh, yeah, I know, but Elle's been really into art lately. She's taking some painting classes, and she loved it. I figured you wouldn't mind her having it for a while. It's no big deal, right? I was stunned. No big deal? It's mine. You don't just take something that was left to someone else. He shrugged. Come on, it's just a painting. Elle's been through a lot lately, what with her breakup and all. She needed a little pick-me-up. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So because she's been dumped, that gives you the right to steal my inheritance? Steal? He laughed like I was the one being ridiculous. Don't be so dramatic. We're family. It's not like you were going to hang it in your place right away, right? You've got that minimalist thing going on. It's not your style. That doesn't matter. It's mine. Grandpa wanted me to have it. Yeah, well, you don't need it, he said dismissively. Elle's place was looking a little empty, and honestly, you know she's going through a tough time. She just moved into that new apartment. It's hard for her, adjusting to life on her own. I stood there, speechless, as he continued to justify it like he'd done me a favor by taking something that was rightfully mine. I don't care how her apartment looks, Uncle R, it's not hers to take, and it sure as hell isn't yours to give. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms like I was the unreasonable one. Well, let's not get worked up over a damn painting. Elle's attached to it now. We can figure something out later. I knew right then and there that he wasn't going to give it back. At least not without a fight. I left without saying another word, but inside I was boiling. For the next few weeks, I tried to handle it civilly. I called him a couple of times, asked him when I could come pick it up. Every time, he had some excuse. Elle's still really attached to it, or she's had a rough week, give her a little more time. I couldn't believe the nerve. He wasn't just blowing me off, he was making it sound like I was the asshole for even asking. Then I started hearing from other family members that Elle was telling everyone the painting was hers now. Dad gave it to me, she'd say proudly. She even posted a picture of it on Instagram, going on about how it was a gift from Grandpa. A gift from Grandpa? Like hell it was. I realized then that they weren't just borrowing it. They were trying to claim it as their own. That's when I decided to call them out. I wasn't going to sit back and let them walk all over me. The family gathering at Uncle R's place was my chance. They were hosting, and I knew most of the extended family would be there. If he wasn't going to respect me or Grandpa's will privately, I'd confront him in front of everyone. I didn't want to make a scene, but he left me no choice. When I showed up that day, I made a point of walking straight into the living room where the painting still hung. I stood in front of it, staring up at it for a second, making sure everyone saw me. Then I turned around, addressing the room. "Beautiful painting, isn't it?" A few people nodded, murmuring agreements. "It's funny," I continued, my voice loud enough to cut through the chatter. "This painting was actually left to me in Grandpa's will. It's supposed to be hanging in my house." The room went dead quiet. My uncle, who'd been talking to my dad across the room, stiffened. Elle, sitting on the couch, suddenly looked like she wanted to disappear into the cushions. I said, locking eyes with him. "Care to explain why it's still hanging in your house?" He tried to play it cool, shrugging like it wasn't a big deal. "Look, like I told you, Elle really liked it. I figured it'd be better for her to have it for now. You're young, you've got plenty of time to enjoy it later." "Plenty of time?" I shot back. "It was left to me. You don't get to decide when I can enjoy my own inheritance." Elle, ever the drama queen, piped up. "I didn't know it meant this much to you. I thought you were fine with me having it for a bit. I mean, you don't even really care about art." "Oh, I care," I said, glaring at her. "I care when people take what's mine and then act like I should be grateful they did. This isn't about whether I care about art, Elle. This is about respecting Grandpa's wishes. And it sure as hell isn't a bit when you've been telling everyone it's yours." She opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off. "Posting it all over Instagram, telling people Grandpa gave it to you as a gift? That's bullshit, and you know it." Her face turned red, but instead of apologizing, she doubled down. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. It's just a painting, for God's sake. You know how hard things have been for me since the breakup, and this helped me feel better. Dad said it was fine, so I didn't think it would be such a problem." "That's because you've always had everything handed to you," I snapped. "Every time something doesn't go your way, someone swoops in to fix it for you. Well, not this time. You don't get to steal from me just because your dad thinks you're entitled to everything you want." Uncle R stepped in, his voice low, trying to regain control of the situation. "Look, we're family. There's no need to air dirty laundry like this. You'll get the painting back eventually, but can't you let her enjoy it for now? We can talk about this later, privately." "Later?" I shook my head. "We've been talking about this for months, and you've done nothing but lie and make excuses. I'm done waiting. I want it back. Tonight." He looked at me, trying to gauge if I was serious. Then, in a last-ditch attempt to guilt me, he said, "You know, Grandpa wouldn't have wanted the family fighting like this. Do you really want to be the one to cause all this drama?" That hit me. He was right. Grandpa hated conflict. But I wasn't the one who started this. "No," I said, my voice calm but firm. "Grandpa wouldn't have wanted this. He also wouldn't have wanted you to ignore his will and disrespect his wishes. This isn't about me causing drama. It's about you not doing what's right." The room was thick with tension. No one dared to speak. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Uncle R sighed. "Fine, I'll take it down. But you're making a mistake by blowing this out of proportion." I didn't say anything. I just stood there, arms crossed, waiting for him to move. The rest of the family was watching, silent, like they were at some uncomfortable dinner theater. Elle stayed glued to the couch, arms crossed, glaring at me like I'd personally destroyed her life. He finally walked over to the fireplace and started unhooking the painting. As he did, he muttered under his breath, "This could have been handled differently, you know? You didn't need to make a scene." "Oh, trust me," I replied, my voice low but steady. "This is nothing compared to the scene you would have had if you'd kept lying." He turned back to face me, the painting in his hands. "You happy now?" "No," I said, taking the painting from him. "But I will be when this is where it belongs, in my home." I glanced over at Elle, who was still sulking on the couch. She didn't say a word, but the look she gave me was enough to let me know this wasn't over in her mind. She'd play the victim for weeks, maybe months, whining to anyone who would listen about how unfair this all was. "Hope the Instagram likes were worth it?" I added, meeting her eyes one last time. She flinched slightly, but still, no apology, No acknowledgement that she had done anything wrong. I wasn't expecting one, honestly. I left the house without another word, walking through the crowd of family members who awkwardly avoided eye contact. Everyone had seen it go down. They knew I was in the right, but I could already tell some of them would be whispering later about how I overreacted or should have let it go. By the time I got home and hung the painting in my living room, I should have felt a sense of relief, maybe even victory. But instead, all I felt was drained. This whole thing had left a bad taste in my mouth. Family is supposed to have your back, right? They're supposed to respect you, to do what's right. But R&L had treated me like I didn't matter, like Grandpa's final wishes didn't matter. And that stung more than anything. Over the next few weeks, the fallout was exactly what I expected. Elle posted some cryptic, passive-aggressive quotes on her Instagram, stuff about fake family and how people who care about you don't steal your happiness. The usual martyr crap. Uncle R called me once, trying to patch things up in his own way, but I wasn't having it. You know, it wasn't about the painting, he said. It's about how you went about it. Funny, I shot back, because to me it seemed like it was all about the painting when you refused to give it back for months. He went quiet after that, probably realizing there was no way to spin it without sounding like a complete jerk. The rest of the family had mixed reactions. Some reached out privately to say they understood and agreed with me. A couple even told me about other shady things Uncle R had done over the years, stuff that had always been brushed under the rug. It was like this incident opened the floodgates, and suddenly everyone had a story about how R or L had taken advantage of someone in the family. Still, there were those who thought I'd made too big a deal out of it. One of my cousins called me petty for not letting L borrow the painting. She actually used the word borrow, like it was some pair of shoes instead of a valuable family heirloom. But you know what? I didn't care. For the first time in a long time, I stood my ground. I didn't let Uncle R's smooth-talking manipulation or L's fake victim routine get to me, and that felt good. Really good. In the end, this wasn't just about a painting. It was about respect, about boundaries, and standing up for myself when someone tried to take advantage of me. They could spin it however they wanted. But I knew the truth. Grandpa's wishes had been clear, and I wasn't going to let some entitled nonsense override that. Now, every time I look at the painting hanging in my living room, I don't just see a piece of art. I see a reminder that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even if it means confronting people you thought you could trust, even if it means being the bad guy in someone else's story. And you know what? I'm okay with that. If you enjoyed this family drama, hit that subscribe button. I might need some backup next time Elle decides to start a new Woe Is Me saga.